Hi, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Nico. I use he, him pronouns. I'm a white man with parted blonde hair. I have a black headset on with brown and blue large-ish spectacles. I'm wearing a dark shirt and I'm seated in front of a purple wall and some bookcases. And like about 20% of the global population, I'm disabled. Non-disabled people might see disabled lives or disabled experiences as overwhelmingly sad or something of an inherently tragic nature. But I don't know, guys. I've been disabled a long time, and if I could only ever feel sad or pitiful or angry or tragic, I'd be quite bored. Feeling one emotion all the time would be a very boring life indeed. That said, the disability community has many opinions, almost as many opinions as we have members, which is why I've asked my friend Ferris here today to talk with me about disabled joy. Hi, Ferris. Thank you for joining me. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic today. It is a
I'm.
great day.
It is a great day, and I'm glad to hear it. Ferris, can you tell me a joyful memory that you have? It could intersect with your disability experience, or it could not. Either is fine.
You know, um, when I looked at the questions, I was gonna just like tell a story about, I have chronic depression. And I was gonna tell a story about a day that I just like that randomly realized that it was that life was good. Even though nothing in particular was happening.
Okay.
Um, which is really rare for me. But actually, when you just talked about people thinking that disability inherently must mean like just like roughness and a lack of joy. It actually made me want to tell a story um, about me and a friend of mine who's actually part of how I started to jump more deeply into the kind of disabled joy that I experience. Um, I'm a kink educator and performer. Um, and I was at Folsom one year, and my friend Orion and I were there. Orion uh, has mobility issues and will sometimes show up in a cane, sometimes with the wheel, not in a cane, but with a cane, sometimes show up in a wheelchair, and other times without those things. But I had not seen them yet that weekend, and I saw them from a distance, and I was gonna go up to them and say hi. But there was something going on around them, so I didn't hadn't approached them yet. But I was just standing there, looking at them and or looking at him. Sorry, I do not want to misgender him. Looking at him, and this person standing next to me, I don't know why they would say this. Um, but they assumed that they could say something like this to me. They said, "Oh, that must be so tough being in a wheelchair and not being able to enjoy um like not being able to enjoy everything that's going on, right?" Yeah. Yeah, that look. This person clearly did not know who I was or that I was friends with this person. Um, but so I kind of like I hear that and I give Orion a look from across the way and I kind of like motion to him and I'm like, like basically saying, I'm about to run and jump on. Is that okay? So I just like run as fast as I can and jump into them onto their chair, dig my knees into their quads, and then stare deeply into their eyes with this wide smile because I love giving them pain. They love receiving it. Um, and and just like the look on that person's face after was delicious. So delicious. A lot of the joy that I receive right now in the community um is about breaking down stereotypes of like sexuality with disabled people and capacity with disabled people. Um, so as a like chronically depressed, ADHD, autistic, and some like chronic pain issues, Dom, I hear people make assumptions about how I should be or what I'm capable of within these different intersections. Um, and I love breaking down those stereotypes and showing them that like, no, I actually have a lot of fun and I'm very good at what I do. And I have a lot of fun with my friends. Like Orion is like a community player, like a community slut. They love playing with people, and you find them at a bar on the ground. As long as you respect him and talk to him and get consent, like he loves to play. He gets lots of play. So like what that guy said was completely wrong. Um, yeah. So I teach classes actually on like playing with disabled people, setting up dungeons in ways that are universally designed for accessibility, um, and just like really empowering people within the disabled community to like ask for the things that they want, see themselves as capable if they don't already, and like helping partners of theirs treat them that same way and like leaning into I also teach a class on dark disability play. So using our disabilities as something to play with too, like instead of far from seeing someone as incapable or fragile, but actually like using the pain of the disability um, and exacerbating it, or you know, like whatever sensory issues. Like instead of avoiding sensory issues, I'll play with them and make them worse uh, with consent, and in a way that causes eventually joy.
Ferris, thank you so much. I actually really love listening to that story, as almost as much as I enjoy shattering ableist expectations. So I see you in that. And I really love the passion that you bring to your profession.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was a journey for me as well to, come to grips with my disability, and then also see myself as someone who is both capable of having sex and then worthy of a healthy and respectful sexual relationship. So
Yeah,
I definitely
yeah,
appreciate the educational work that you do in that regard. Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's really sad how frequently we've been given messages that we're not sexual people,
right. Yeah.
or that we can't be touched because we're so fragile and shouldn't be played with, or that like
Mhm.
we can't show up as full adults and make our own decisions.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
None of us are Tiny Tim from A Christmas Carol.
right.
Valid, valid. This brings me to like my second question, which I feel you've kind of begun to touch on. How has your disabled experiences affected your ability to pursue happiness or to pursue joy?
Well, if we talk about them academically, which is what I do, that's been tough.
Yeah.
Uh, I've I've been I've borne the brunt of so many ableist institutions that have ground me down. In fact, I feel like I'm in burnout right now. I'm trying to finish my PhD program. Um, but if we talk about the kink community where I do a lot of the work I do for fun in community, it's in fact like enhanced it because I found a community of people who um want joy as much as I do and love leaning into creating that joy together. Like I call myself like a disabled for disabled Dom.
Okay. A niche
Yeah,
market, but a
yeah.
worthy role nonetheless. Thank you. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt, my friend.
No, no, you're great.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
you're
All
you're
right.
fine. So
Thank
yeah, yeah, it I think disability has really actually, what's really interesting is my academic journey enabled this.
Mhm.
Um, because I was doing my dissertation on trans mask embodiment and disability. And as part of that, I took a staging disability course in the dance department with someone named Doran George, who is unfortunately not with us today. Um, and they introduced me to a bunch of like queer and disabled performance artists who either brought disability to the forefront of their work by leaning into their disability and like exacerbating it momentarily, bringing attention to it in ways where people would be challenged to look at it despite the fact that they're told to like not to, or they would blow it up so much in a performance that you couldn't tell what the disability was. And so it's like all these different ways of playing with disability for the purpose of challenging what people think about disability and capacity. And I was like, oh my God, I've been doing that in my play for the longest time. I want to make a class about doing this in kink community and finding people who want to do this. And when I teach the classes, it's like half, let's talk about really cool, fucked up ideas um, that sound really fun. And then half the other time, it's like, let's talk about the ways it's like creating space for us to talk about the ways we've been harmed by other people's interpretations of disability. And so like it's really just like disability has really increased my ability to find joy in places that I don't think I would have before, and like challenge like normative ideas of what joy is and how you can have it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean, I guess it's still confusing to me, even though I've thought about this a lot, how non-disabled people can so easily accept difference and variation in other populations or other sectors of life, but we disabled folks are relegated to like only one role. We can never possibly, act on our own, but we can be acted upon. So that confuses and frustrates me.
Well,
Mhm.
I think part of that is like that in order to recognize that, people would have to recognize the way in which like disability is constructed too.
Mhm.
Like, yes, we have impairments, but like a large majority of the reason that I think a lot of disabled people struggle is because of the way that we create disabled environments, or not disabled environments, but like environments that are disabling
Mhm.
and have expectations of people's capacity that also feels disabling. Um, and so like I try to balance like thinking about myself as disabled, and like knowing that I am impaired in specific ways, but also that I have strengths too, and that part of the reason I'm disabled is because of the people that interact with me, how they interact with me, and the environments I have to interact with. Um, so like, um, yeah, and I think that like accepting difference in that way would have to would challenge people's ability to actually it would require challenging seeing how they're a part of that. You know what I mean? Because our ideas of disability are actually like historically constructed as a means of like creating like, classes of people for like the purpose of creating superior um communities, and separating out people who don't fit into them. So the idea that like disability is going to be constructed in a particular way, like where it's meant to be constructed in this way where people can't accept the difference, because accepting the difference means accepting alternative modes of reality in life that break down class barriers, that break down race barriers, that break down gender barriers that people aren't often ready to do.
I would agree with you there. It's very difficult to get people to change their mindsets or to think about anything other than their immediate population or the immediate or short-term future. Uh,
Yeah, and
yeah,
and also just like, it's hard to get people to challenge um what they think they know.
there's that
And
too. Yes.
like people don't like to be wrong or to even think about like
Hmm.
how they might be.
Yeah.
Like the thing that I love to point out is that people all the fucking time ask me what my dog's pronouns are. They're like, is she a boy or a girl? Or like, what are her pronouns? And I'm like, why are you asking me about my dog and not me? Like, if
Okay.
you could
Yeah.
do it for my dog, you could do it for me.
Yeah.
And,
That's absolutely true.
so it's really interesting how there are some, when it comes to some domains, that we can do that because it doesn't challenge anything. Um, and others where putting it in a specific would mean challenging that.
That's actually a really good way to put it. It puts what we're talking about very succinctly. I think if you like got that put on a shirt or something, you could sell that and it would sell really well.
Yeah,
So,
like I always tell people, I'm like, my dog is like, she's a female dog, but she doesn't have pronouns
yeah.
like that are stable. Like it's studied, like I use she obviously because I'm so used to that. But like it's not like she cares or
Right.
knows what gender is.
Yeah, that's
She
true.
doesn't even have sex. She's spayed too. Like,
Yeah.
like gender and sex have no bearing on her life except for how it impacts hormones in her body.
Valid. Ferris, thank you so much. What one thing do you want people to know about disability and quality of life?
Oh, that's really hard because there's so many things.
Ah, yeah.
Um, Disability and quality of life. I think that like disability doesn't hamper quality of life, or rather that it doesn't have to hamper quality of life. And that a large part of the reason it does, again, is because of the kind of interactions that we create and the environments that we create. So I think what I would like people to know about disability is that, and quality of life is that, um, we are fully capable of enhancing our quality of lives ourselves, but also like there's a community responsibility to enhancing other people around you, to enhancing their quality of life around you. And when it comes to disability, people around us have a huge impact in our quality of life. How you treat us, the kind of interactions that we have, the kind of environments that you're creating. Um, how we support or don't support disabled communities and peoples, how we choose to create messaging around disability in our television shows and our books. And, um, you know, we are co-creators of our realities, and disabled people need people who are not disabled to help us create that quality of life because we're doing what we can. And, but it would be nice to have some more help.
Yes, that's true. We could always use more allies. I've never like been in a disability organization that turns away members, right?
Yeah.
It's heavy work. It's joyful work, but it's also heavy work, and we need all hands.
Yeah.
Ferris, I really tried to like not come into interviews with any preconceived notions. So I try not to say like, oh, this is gonna suck or this is gonna rule. But frankly, you rocked my socks off. This was a great time talking with
Oh,
you.
thank you. I had so
Yeah.
much fun.
Yeah. So we're gonna close with a question that I ask pretty much everyone on all of my video projects.
Okay,
What
shoot.
Okay. What one recent win can we help you celebrate if you feel comfortable naming it? Or if you can't think of like a recent win, where can people find you online? Like take this time to promote yourself, your new initiatives. This is your soapbox. Be your own cheerleader. We're here to root you on.
Um, I'd like to answer both of those actually. So recent win, I'm actually, as a kink educator, I am always trying to expand my profile of where I can teach people about accountability, consent, disability, gender, as well as like hard skills for doming. And I'm gonna start I'm actually leaning into, I've had people tell me this for a while and I've always resisted it, but I'm leaning into expanding my profile, and I'm starting to be a pro dom and a BDSM coach. Um and continuing my kink education work just in a bigger way. And so I'm really celebrating leaning into that expansion, leaning into that growth. And I can be found at Ferris Oxide on Instagram. Um, or I can be found on Facebook for same place. Just search Ferris Oxide or Rusty, um, or Ferris Oxide with Rusty. And that's Ferris as in like Ferris Bueller, like Ferris, and then Oxide. I can also be found on FetLife at the same place. Um, and if there are any like inquiries about performances, judging, coaching, anything about along that line, um, or just like to connect with me, I love connecting with people. I can be found at mxferrisoxide@gmail.com. Thank you.
Ferris, thank you so much. This was a great time. Um, I really appreciate the perspective you brought. I really love the work that you're doing. Thank you for helping us to create a healthy disabled sexuality community. Everyone, thanks for joining. Catch me next time. And remember, I'm rooting for you.
Thank you.